back again, even though I am the worst booktuber. However, it is that time of year again. It is BookTrek, and it is my very favorite booktube event. And really, it's the only one that I participate in anymore. If you are not familiar with BookTrek, it is an annual reading event that takes place in June, July, and August. And it is where you read Star Trek fiction. There's no limits or prompts or restrictions of any kind. You read as many or as few Star Trek novels as you would like. And you read Star Trek novels about any of the shows that you like. There are 2 optional away missions. The first away mission is to read a nonfiction science book of some kind. The second is to read a book that is related to Star Trek in some way. For example, it could be a memoir written by one of the actors. It can be a novel written by one of the actors. It can be a parody of Star Trek. Just anything that is related to Star Trek that isn't an actual Star Trek novel, if that makes sense, if I'm making sense. So if you would like a little more information about it, you can go to Vin's channel over at Revenant Reads. He is the creator of BookTrek, and I'll have his link down in the description. There are also a number of co-hosts. I'm one of the co-hosts. We also have Michael K. Vaughn, Steve Donahue, Fred at Read by Fred. We have Randy, the literate Texan, and we have a new co-host this year, Joe, over at Joe's Book and Movie Corner, and I will have all of their channels linked down in my description. So this year, usually I have a giant, sort of list of books that I'm going to be choosing from, but this year I'm taking a different route. I am just going to stand in front of my Star Trek shelf and pick whichever book strikes my fancy in that moment. There are a couple, there are just a few little exceptions. And I did not put my books in order here. Okay, so some books that I'm going to be reading for sure are the Strange New World series of books. I did read the first one. I read it the year before last, which is called The High Country by John Jackson Miller. If you have not read John Jackson Miller Star Trek novel, you definitely should. He is one of my very favorite writers. He wrote the Prey trilogy, which is my favorite Star Trek story. And if you haven't read that, you absolutely should. Okay, so I read this the year before last. And so I'm continuing on with, oops, that's the wrong one. You didn't see that. Asylum by Una McCormick, which I have actually already started, and I am enjoying that one so far. And then I'll be reading Ring of Fire by David Mack. And then I'll be reading Toward the Night by James Swallow. So those are the only 4 Strange New Worlds books that are out. I'm hoping they come out with more because I really enjoyed that first one. I'm enjoying the second one so far. So hopefully there are more. There are more, I should say. Another one that I'm for sure reading is the first book in the Titan series, the Star Trek TNG Titan series, called Taking Wing by Michael A. Martin and Andy. Is it Mangels or Mangels, whatever that is. Anyways, I did start this a couple of months ago, but then I got completely sidetracked, as often happens to me. So I'm definitely going to be starting this one over and finishing it this time. That'll be the very next thing I read. And then I'm going to also be reading Black Fire by Sunny Cooper. I have been wanting to read this for a few years now, but the copy I had was kind of ratty and it had a, sticky feeling on the cover and stuff, and I couldn't get rid of it. And I didn't want to handle that book. So when I was telling Mark Richardson over at Richardson Reads, I'll have his channel linked down in my description too. I was telling him about that. So he sent me his copy to read. So thank you very much, Mark. Anyway, so I'll definitely be reading that as well. Now, there is a couple of possibilities. Here I was telling you that I was really going to stand in front of I wasn't going to do a whole bunch of possibilities, but I do have 2 possibilities because I've really been wanting to read the Invasion series of books, and there is this bind up of them which I picked up, I don't remember where, probably at Half Price Books. But anyways, I've really been wanting to read those books for a while, and so I'm hoping that this is going to be the year that I read them from the bind up. The other one is a newer purchase for me. It's the Janus Gate. I think there are 3 books in this, but they are in this bind up here, and I'd really kind of like to read this too. So those are my 2 possibilities. Okay, and then the last one that I'm for sure going to be reading is for the nonfiction science book away mission. And it just came out. I had pre-ordered it. It's Take Me to Your Leader, Perspectives on Your First Alien Encounter by Neil deGrasse Tyson. So, okay, this is not a science book, but it is nonfiction, and it is about aliens, and there are tons of aliens in Star Trek, so I'm counting it. Okay, so those are the few books that I am for sure going to read, and a couple of maybe possibilities. And like I said, other than that, I'm just going to random read. And I'm really going to try to be a good girl this year and make a video about each of the books that I read. I always say I'm going to do that, and then I never do that. I only put up just like 2 or 3 videos. I did actually record 2 more videos last year than I posted, but I recorded them and then I never got around to editing them or anything like that. So probably the next videos that you're going to see from me are those 2 videos, which are actually from last year, because I have them. I might as well edit them and get them up, right? Okay, so that's all of my BookTrek announcement for 2026, and I'll call that the end of the video.